And he is willing to have a good faith conversation, right, with anybody, Democrats, independents, Republicans, to talk about how do we continue to move forward to do that, to deliver for the American people, yes, on important programs and issues, but also how are we going to continue to lower the deficit, which he thinks is incredibly important.
So, one of the funniest, most tragic, and unfortunate things about our political system, being in a two-party system where we got one vote, we're always voting against the other guy, basically, is that, we point the finger at the other party when in reality, the whole system works in and of itself. When people say, this is Trump's America, or this is Biden's America, like, no, this is just America. Like, for instance, like police brutality or crime, right? Police brutality's been an issue way longer than my whole life, longer than my father's life. My dad's in his 70s. Police brutality is nothing new. Systemic racism is nothing new. People looting in the streets whenever there's a big disaster, that's nothing new. But, we're going to blame Biden. We're going to blame Republicans. It doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, the owner donors, as Nina Turner likes to call them, and as I agree with, they give money to both parties, so what difference does it really make? Although it is quite hilarious when Republicans point to the debt ceiling and to the deficit because it's like, well, you guys are, literally objectively more responsible for those things.
Let's remember why we have seen that the last couple of years, right? I mean, we have seen that it balloon in the way that you just spoke to. Let's not forget the Trump tax cut, the $2 trillion 2017 Trump tax cut. The deficit increased every single year under Trump. His 4 years in office are responsible for 25% of our total national debt from the last 230 plus years. And so, look, there's been action that's been taken by Republicans in Congress that has led to where we are today. Again, their first piece of legislation just weeks ago in this new Congress would have increased the deficit by $100 billion. And let's not forget why, to help tax cheats, wealthy tax cheats. That's what they wanted to do.
Well, let's take the military budget, for example. It doesn't matter who's in office. It's going to go up. It doesn't matter if there's a Democrat in office. It doesn't matter if there's a Republican office. It doesn't matter if, maybe that Democrat's even more to the left. The military-industrial complex is going to get what it wants. Every single administration, the budget goes up. Even though we have higher budget than the next 9 militaries combined, the next 9 largest militaries combined, we could blow up pretty much any nation off the face of the earth. Obviously, it's not that simple and that direct, nor should we do those things. But the general point is that the U.S. military doesn't need continual explosion in its budget. We need to invest in other areas more heavily. We have equipment that's just sitting in the desert. We have equipment that doesn't get used. We spend trillions of dollars on jets that can't even fly. But again, that's an issue that it doesn't really matter if it's a Republican or a Democrat in office. That budget's gonna get got.
This massive military spending bill for 2017 might be the last signed into law by President Barack Obama.
Now, following on the heels of President Trump's call for a sharp increase in military spending to deal with threats like North Korea, the U.S. Senate has approved a mammoth defense policy bill for 2018.
But it's always hilarious, too. Like we already covered the deficit, but, what about like COVID, the COVID lockdowns? Like, it's so goofy to me how Republicans seem to point the fingers at Democrats for lockdowns, but Donald Trump was the president when COVID hit the country. Donald Trump's the one who pulled back all of our preparation. Donald Trump's the one who acted like it really wasn't that big of a deal. And there's many Republican states. It's not just like we don't live in a 50 Democratic state country. So Republican states were doing the lockdowns too. But, they spun it like this is all a Democratic conspiracy. All the jobs lost during the pandemic, everything that people had to suffer through was under a Republican administration. It's always so funny to watch us point the fingers back and forth. But there are some legitimate issues, again, like the deficit, things like that. It's like, guys, come on.